Welcome to this, the fourth in our series of lockdown glimpses of the Charterhouse. I'm Anne Kenrick, Master of the Charterhouse, and you find me today in the cloisters, which is the oldest part of the building. This, as you can imagine, is part of the original Carthusian monastery that was built here in the mid-14th century as a result of the ground being acquired outside in the square to bury all those people who died in the Black Death. And so this, which I'll take you down later, is just half the length of one of the four sides of the cloisters, of which there would have been cells where the monks would have lived and worked. And this is the door. This is the only remaining door to the cell, and what you'll see here is what is called the guichet. The Carthusians were a silent order of monks, and so they were not able to come out and have communal dining as our brothers do. They had to stay in their cells doing their work and so on, and there would have been a door further forward here, so that the lay brother, when they came and left the food for the monks, would then have no contact with the monk. The monk from behind the door would take the food and continue with the work they were doing. In fact, although these are call cells, they weren't too bad. They were sort of 2 up, 2 downs, which is not bad. They would have had an area for doing the work, for example, illustrating manuscripts, and then beyond, in the back they'd have a little garden for herbs and so on. So clearly in these recent lockdown times it's been quite poignant for us to have this guichet, because in a sense we have been taking food to those brothers who are shielding, and it would be very useful to have something like a guichet so that they wouldn't need to have contact if they were self-isolating and so on. But just to give you some more information on this area generally, you can see that the brickwork on the side is very different. So this brickwork down here is from the early 14th, mid-14th century, about 1371, and then after the dissolution of the monasteries, when Henry VIII forced the monks to make a decision about whether they would stay with him or else stay with the Pope or go with him, this became a mansion house for a Tudor noble. A number of people lived here, including Richard North and the Earl of Norfolk, and an extra vaulted ceiling was created. So this was in 1571, because they had a real tennis court at the end of here, and he wanted to make sure that his guests could get there in the dry. But what I love about these stones, and if you actually just go and feel them, they are cold and wonderful. When you get primary schools in here, the children really can sense the history here, and they really can feel what it would have been like in those days to live here. The other thing that is quite extraordinary is that when it was then acquired by Thomas Sutton in 1611 as a school and an almshouse, this was then the wet play area. So outside would have been the play area when it was dry, but in here was where the beginnings of football had a very important moment, because the young boys, they would hide behind the arches, you can see over there, and then nip out and try and score a goal. And so this very place is in fact where the offside rule was invented. I kid you not, that's absolutely serious. So the offside rule, in order to make sure that people didn't nip in and score a goal, and the throw in, because as you can see, you couldn't kick in here because there wouldn't have been any glass, but there was an opening there. So the rule that you have to throw in exactly where the ball's gone off was also invented here. Charterhouse, like Westminster and so on, one of the main schools to be involved in setting up the rules for the Football Association, and was completely instrumental in this. But what I love here as well is, for example, my husband had his 60th dinner party here. We had a long table, and if you can imagine it, in the evening with a long table here with candles, and a wonderful meal provided by our kitchens. It was very atmospheric. So we do have private events here. We've had concerts with cellos in conjunction with the Barbican, and it is very special. And I'm just going to take you through here to show you where the monks would have had their gardens. This, to me, is one of the most extraordinary doors I've seen. An absolutely beautiful fastening mechanism. And I shall just take you out into the sunlight. And if you look over here, you can see the brothers having a quiet read after their lunch. But this is where the herb gardens would have been. This is just a taste of what we have to offer at the Charterhouse. If you're interested in doing a proper tour with the brothers, do go onto the website www.thecharterhouse.org and get a support ticket which you can redeem against a tour when we're open and back up and running. Thank you.